konferans katılımcılarına sorularımızı yönetmeye devam ediyoruz. Bu sabah gerçekleştirilen oturumun moderatörlüğü Megan Bodette'e sorumuzu soracağız. Özellikle güncel konuları soracağız Megan arkadaşımıza. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I will begin for actual questions. You know, Turkish government use chemical weapons against Kurdish guerrillas. What do you think about this, and what the people can do against this?
Turkey is committing war crimes and crimes against humanity every day in its illegal and destabilizing military operations in Iraq and Syria. It's essential that people everywhere call on governments and international organizations to have a complete investigation of the very disturbing reports of chemical weapons use that we've seen, to ensure that all information about this war crime can be discovered and to hold perpetrators accountable if it is found that these war crimes have taken place and those responsible have been revealed. So demanding an investigation is essential here. But more than that, Turkey would not be able to use chemical weapons or commit any of the other war crimes that it commits if governments did not give Turkey permission to continue waging its war on the Kurdish people, the peoples of Iraq and Syria, and of course its own population at home. So people need to call on their governments to demand an end to military and diplomatic support for Turkey for as long as it remains an autocratic and militaristic regime at war with its own population and its neighbors. People need to demand an end to arms sales, to intelligence cooperation, to the transfer of technology that can be used in military equipment. And if we do this and cut off support for Turkey's wars, that will show a very strong sign that world public opinion is in favor of a peaceful and democratic solution to the Kurdish question, that the world does not support this violent attempt to prevent a people from gaining self-determination, and that instead the world is standing up with one voice for democracy, peace, and the rights of the Kurdish people. So that's what we have to do right now, and it is urgent, because every day that Turkey is allowed to invade Iraq and Syria, to attack the Kurdish people, and to wage war on minorities and dissidents at home is a day that people will be killed. People will go to prison unjustly, people will lose relatives and friends, people will be forced from their homes. This will happen every day if we don't stop it. So that's what we have to do right now.
The Turkish government, they say we don't have chemical weapons, but the HPG, they diffuse some videos about the chemical weapons, some guerrillas who was killed with chemical weapons. I think you see the videos. And the KJK, he tell we can help if somebody come here for investigation, but nobody come. What you can do for some professional person go to Kurdistan for search about chemical weapons? What the opinion can do? Public opinion, what?
Well, that's exactly what has to happen. Public opinion internationally has to put pressure on relevant individuals and organizations to carry out this kind of investigation. Look, the Turkish government says it doesn't have these weapons. If they believe that their operations in Iraq and Syria are being conducted in line with international law, then they should welcome an investigation. If they have nothing to hide, they should want an investigation that would prove that they've done nothing wrong. But the fact that they're arresting people simply for saying that these allegations should be investigated is a sign, in addition to all of the evidence that we've seen, that there likely is something very wrong going on there. So all of these disturbing allegations, this very disturbing video evidence that we've just seen, reporting from human rights organizations, and now the fact that Erdogan is jailing critics who dare to say that the Turkish government should be held accountable to the international treaties that it has signed, really shows that they're attempting to cover something up in their military operations. And I think right now what needs to happen is people around the world need to reach out to relevant human rights organizations, to political figures who might be interested, to civil society figures who might be interested, and call on them to organize a serious, rigorous fact-finding effort that can go to Kurdistan, that can look into all of these allegations, all of the evidence that's been provided, into other allegations of other very serious war crimes that have gone on there as well, and that will be able to do so without interference from Turkey or from Iraqi Kurdish authorities, whom we know have interfered in at least one recent investigation, as was revealed in that report by the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, that they were blocked by local authorities from researching some of these cases. So a delegation needs to be high profile enough that it won't be subjected to this political pressure. And once again, look, all I'm saying is that if the Turkish authorities and the Iraqi Kurdish authorities believe that everything in the region is going well, that there have been no war crimes committed, then they should welcome an investigation. They should allow an investigation to happen to show that nothing has gone on. So the fact that they don't, to me, is very suspicious, and it shows even further suspicion that it's very likely that Turkey is committing even worse war crimes than we've heard of, and they don't want anyone to find out. So keeping pressure up is very important.
The Turkish government, he bombarded Rojava 2 every day, I think. But nobody in the world say nothing. What can you tell about this?
So this again goes back to that same problem of international impunity. As long as the Turkish government knows that the powers that support it, which right now include both the United States and NATO and the Western Bloc and Vladimir Putin and Russia and that power bloc, as long as these countries allow Turkey to commit crimes in Syria, Turkey will continue to commit crimes in Syria. The international community is silent right now because all major powers are trying to promote their own interests with Turkey. Russia is looking out for its interests with Turkey. The United States is looking out for its interests with Turkey. And it is not in any of their interests to do anything meaningful to try to stop Turkey's low-intensity war on northeast Syria right now. Now, both the United States and Russia have expressed their opposition to a new Turkish invasion. But this is almost, this is a very calculated political play that they're carrying out here, because they know that all the attacks short of an invasion that Turkey is carrying out are simply a war by other means, by drone strikes, by shelling, by cutting off the water, by cutting off electricity, by keeping the region under economic embargo. All of these things accomplish the same goals as a new Turkish military invasion. They cause people to be displaced. They lower the quality of life there. They make it difficult for the autonomous administration and the SDF to govern and to keep the region secure against ISIS. But they do so without causing the kind of international outrage that a full invasion would bring. So Turkey has directly and correctly calculated that as long as it doesn't invade Syria like it did in 2019, it can take every military measure short of an invasion without international punishment. And so it's very important now that governments that are opposed to a Turkish invasion realize that all of the destabilizing outcomes of an invasion can still be realized by what Turkey is doing now. If Turkey is allowed to continue its destabilizing policies, its bombardment, its use of water as a weapon, its economic blockade, all of these other policies, if this continues, it will lead to the same chaos and instability in northern Syria that a full-scale invasion would. So if the United States, Russia, the UN, NATO, Europe, all of these institutions, unless they want to see even greater conflict in the Middle East than exists right now, they need to realize that what Turkey is doing is no less dangerous than an invasion. They need to respond to Erdogan's strategies, and they need to promote peace in the region. Right now they're not doing that because they're looking out for their short-term interests, but as always, this will only lead to more conflict and instability in the future.
I will ask for Afrin. Now Hayat Tahrir el-Sham is in Afrin. Turkish other groups, they are go out from Afrin. And what do you think about this new, what is happened in Afrin?
Well, I think on one level, for the people in Afrin, they've simply traded one occupier for another. The Kurdish people, the religious minorities in Afrin, all of the original population, of those who remain 5 years after Turkey invaded and occupied Afrin, for them, things won't be very different. They still live under occupation. They still are denied their rights. Women are still subjected to serious human rights violations. There's still serious violations of the rights of ethnic and religious minorities. So on that human level, the situation in Afrin will remain very dangerous and very destructive until Afrin is liberated and returned to its people. Now, on the international level, the fact that Turkey is allowing this group into the region is likely a sign of its plans to continue to attack the autonomous administration and the Kurds in Rojava and northeast Syria. By moving HTS into these areas and allowing a group, a jihadist group like this one, to consolidate control of more territory, it's likely preparing groundwork for a new attack on Kurdish regions in which it will promote the same kind of extremism. It's also likely promoting conditions wherein reconciliation between the government of Turkey and the government of Syria would be possible, which also, in its current form, would lead to further Turkish attacks on Kurds. So either way, whatever happens now, this is a very dangerous plan for the people of the region. It likely signals future Turkish attacks on the autonomous administration and the SDF. And it's a danger for international security because HTS is a jihadist group. They're listed as a terrorist organization by many countries, including by Turkey itself, despite Turkey's policy. And if these groups are allowed a foothold in Syria, the Kurds will be their first victims, but not their last. It will lead to a very destabilizing international situation if it is not addressed. And so this development needs to be taken very seriously for many reasons.